I woke up in the vertical necropolis. Above, a concrete ceiling pulsed like a massive pupil. The pipes hissed with oily steam and faint whispers. I felt the tower breathing around my body. My stats were pathetic. Strength, 5, HP, 100, Sanity, 100%. My only assets were a rusted copper compass and 200 old world dollars. In this hell, paper was rare but physically useless. A siren shrieked, the hour of sleep. On the wall, a fresh message was carved in blood, sleep is the exit. Exit is forbidden. Huge ceiling fans began to spin like metallic's rocky eyes above. Floor 1 rule, monsters react to noise and crowds. I looked at the 500 people around me. They were all screaming, sealing their own fates. I needed to move before they did or died. Everyone rushed toward the central staircase, thinking it was safety. My compass needle spun wildly, pointing toward the floor. Those stairs were an architectural lie, they lead into the pit. Mechanical rats, shredders, emerged from the black elevator shafts. Their serrated tails sparked against the tiles. They weren't looking for scrap, they were hunting for any organic life. One shredder locked its red optical sensor onto my position. It didn't care about my weak muscles. It sensed the organic fibers of the dollar bills in my pocket. I was the priority bait now. I couldn't fight. Strength 5 meant my arms were like twigs against brass blades. If I ran to the stairs, I'd loop into the void. I needed to use the money for a tactical diversion quickly. I pulled out a wad of $50 and shredded it with my teeth. The machine hissed, its pistons pumping. To an automated scavenger, high-quality cellulose was a top-priority organic target. I threw the torn bills toward the screaming crowd near the false stairs. The shredder pivoted with terrifying speed. It dove into the air, its blades turning my wealth into green dust fast. While the rat was distracted by the organic noise, I turned to the wall my compass was fixated on. It was a seamless concrete slab with no handles. A door hidden in plain architecture alone. The pipes whispered, pressure is the key. I looked back. The shredder had finished the first pile and was turning. I had 10 seconds left. I leaned my shoulder against the wall's right edge. A hidden technical passage opened silently. I slipped through the narrow gap just as the machine's red gaze locked back onto my shivering legs. The air inside smelled of cold rust and oil. The door hissed shut behind me, cutting off the sounds of the massacre. I heard claws scratching the other side. Sanity, 98%. Assets, $150. Fragments, 0.1. Floor 1 finally cleared for me. I stood in a stairwell that smelled of ozone. The stairs here shifted under my boots, leading up and down at once. Gravity flickered, making me feel light as the air became thin and cold. I climbed. Every 10 steps, the architecture felt more wrong. I saw windows that showed different versions of the lobby below. In one, the crowd was winning. In another, everyone was dead. The walls were covered in frantic scratches. They come to the sleeping first. I realized those who tried to rest were consumed by the pipes. The tower never truly sleeps or forgets you. My sanity dropped to 97%. The lack of sleep was an itch behind my eyes. I needed essence of peace. If I didn't reach the shrine on floor 2, my mind would shatter before the first sunrise. I passed a resting room. It had beds, but they were welded to the ceiling. Iron chains hung down, meant to keep you standing. A cruel joke designed by a god who hated the concept of rest. I reached the landing of floor 2. A gramophone on a rusted pole shrieked Rule 2, mirages show what you want. I pushed the iron door open. The space inside was impossibly wide and dark. I stepped into the archive of rust. It was a metallic desert under 3 artificial suns. Massive lamps hung from the concrete sky, emitting a dry, surgical heat that scorched my dry lungs. The sand was a mixture of iron filings and crushed human bones. The wind sounded like thousands of coins rubbing together. I saw school desks and server racks buried in the dark metallic dunes. This was the grave of progress. Every piece of junk here was a tombstone for a dead world. I saw a mirage of a cold water fountain. My throat burned, but I knew it was a dehydration trap. My compass began to glow blue. It pointed toward an old bus half buried in a dune. That was the knot, the technical anomaly where the tower's internal skin was exposed to the surface world. Near the bus, I found a skeleton. Its eye sockets were dry and expanded. It clutched a diary. I chose sight. Do not repeat. I ignored the warning. I had $150 and nothing to lose. The space folded as I stepped inside the bus. The interior was a cathedral of gears and bone columns. Violet light pulsed from the center, distorting time. The Guardian was finally there. It had no face, only a hood made of violet space tears. It sat on a throne of clockwork. It didn't speak with words, it spoke with the sound of a closing trap. Pay the price, mortal now. I held out my remaining $150. Take this memory of the dead world. I trade my sleep for your eyes. The money vanished into purple flame. The deal was struck in the total darkness. Searing pain exploded in my skull. It felt like my eyelids were stitched open with red-hot wire. HP dropped to 5. Sanity flickered wildly before stabilizing at 90%. I became the sleepless. System, contract signed. Skill, Chronos Eyes obtained. I walked out of the bus. The desert looked different. I saw shimmer in the dunes, a hidden scorpion about to strike in 10 seconds. I saw my own death. A segmented tail would pierce my heart if I took another step. I shifted my weight, stepping left. The scorpion lunged at the empty air, exactly as I had foreseen it. I struck the monster's joint with my rusty spike. Destiny fragment obtained. I smiled through the pain. I can't sleep, but now I see how this tower plans to kill us. The hunt has begun. The metallic sand hissed as it slid off the bus. My eyelids were frozen open, a permanent gift from the Guardian. Violet lines etched across the archive of rust in a shifting grid of fate. HP, 5/100. Sanity, 90%. Destiny fragments, 0.1. I was a walking corpse with a god's vision. The 3 artificial suns above hummed, radiating a dry, bone-scorching heat into the dead air. I looked at the dark dune ahead. A ghostly silhouette of a scorpion flickered in my vision, 10 seconds into the future. It was an elite scrapper, 3 meters of serrated brass and gears. Skill, Chronos Eyes active. Cost, 1 sanity per minute. My brain felt like it was being scraped by a needle. In 7 seconds, the sand will erupt. I stood perfectly still, waiting for death. 5 seconds. 4. The ghostly image of the scorpion lunged, its stinger aiming for my throat. I shifted my weight to the right by 10 centimeters. The real sand exploded right next to me. The stinger whistled past my ear. I felt the heat of the friction. Destiny fragment obtained, plus 1.0. Changing a fatal future is my only way to grow. The metal beast was now fully exposed. I had no weapon. I grabbed a rusted iron leg from a buried school desk nearby. Item, heavy junk leg. Damage, 3 to 5. The scorpion had 50 HP. This was going to be a very long, tactical fight. Another vision flashed. The beast will sweep its left claw in a wide arc. I jumped before the claw even moved. I hammered the iron leg into its glowing red optical sensor with all my might. Critical hit, 15 damage. The scorpion screeched, green hydraulic fluid spraying onto the iron dust. It tried to retreat into the sand, but I saw its path 10 seconds early in the grid. I stomped on the dune where it was about to emerge. The iron leg pierced the soft underbelly. Damage, 20. The creature's HP bar hit 0. It collapsed into a pile of lifeless brass gears. Loot, Scrap Core X1, Essence of Peace X2, Serrated Blade X1. I grabbed the essence bottle. It was a cold, blue liquid that smelled of rain. I drank it without any hesitation or doubt. Sanity restored, plus 10%. The itching behind my eyes vanished. My mind cleared. Sanity, 99%. I felt human again, even if my eyelids refused to close. I needed much more of this liquid rain. I looked at the scrap core. It was worth 50 destiny fragments if I sold it to the tower. Or I could use it to upgrade my junk leg. Strategy, investing in raw power is the only survival. Upgrade, rusted leg plus scrap core. Item, core-powered mace. Damage, 12 to 18. Now I could kill smaller rats in one hit. My power was finally growing. HP remained at a dangerously low 5. I couldn't heal HP with essence. I needed organic meat or medical kits. I saw a mirage of a clinic on the horizon. My eyes flickered. It was actually a nest of mechanical vultures. Chronos Eyes showed the vultures diving in 6 minutes. They hunt anything with a scrap core. I hid my new mace under the sand. Rule 3, never show your best loot to the open sky. I sat by an old ATM half buried in the rust. I counted my fragments. Total, 1.1. I needed 10 to unlock the first tier of the Sleepless Architect progression tree for growth. The wind picked up, sounding like coins in a blender. I saw another scavenger, a man in rags, approaching the clinic nest. He didn't have my eyes. He was walking to a messy death. Should I save him? Cost, 5 minutes of foresight. Reward, potential subordinate. I watched him. He looked like a thief. Thin, fast, and clutching a set of master picks in his hand. My vision showed him being torn apart in 10 seconds by a vulture's beak. I threw a rock at a nearby pipe. The metallic clang echoed loudly through the silent, dead grave of progress. The man jumped back. He saw the vulture dive into the sand where he had stood. He looked at me, eyes wide with terror. I didn't smile. I just pointed at the buried clinic with my club. Don't go there unless you want to be bird feed, I rasped. The man scurried over to my ATM, shivering violently. He looked into my violet eyes and recoiled in pure, unadulterated horror. You're one of them. A sleepless, he whispered. He held his picks like a dagger. I ignored the threat. I saw his future. In 2 minutes, he will offer me a trade for a piece of food. I offered him the bread. Decision, invest in the thief. He took it greedily. Relationship, Kai, thief, grateful. He was my first pawn on this vertical, mechanical chessboard. I'm heading up, I told him. Stay behind me, and you might live to see the 3rd floor stairs. Kai nodded quickly. The stairs are guarded by an iron vulture queen. It is suicide. I saw a vision of the queen. She was a mass of jet engines and steel feathers. Strength, 50. HP, 500. A direct fight was impossible. I needed a tactical environmental kill to win. I scanned the ceiling. The artificial suns were held by massive rusted bolts. If I could drop one sun lamp on her nest, the heat and weight would crush her metal body instantly. Cost, 10 sanity to calculate the drop angle. I focused. Violet lines traced the path of the sun lamp. I saw the queen landing to feed in exactly 34 minutes from right now. Kai, can you climb that server rack? I pointed to a 20-meter tower of rusted computers. I need you to loosen the bolts on the third sun. Use your picks to jam the mechanism. Kai looked at the height and gulped. If the vultures see me, I'm dead. I handed him the essence of peace. Drink this if your sanity drops. I'll cover you from the dark dunes below. I used my core-powered mace to dig a trench. I saw the future vultures' patrol routes. Every 10 seconds, I signaled Kai to move. He was like a silent shadow on the rusted racks. Kai reached the top. He was sweating. The bolts are huge. I looked through my eyes. 7 turns to the left. Then wait for my signal. The Queen is coming in 5 minutes, Kai. The sky hummed. A massive shadow crossed the metallic desert. The Queen was beautiful and terrifying. She landed on the buried clinic, her jet engines glowing orange with power. HP, 5, sanity, 80%. The foresight was draining me. I saw the future. 3 seconds until she lowers her head. Now. I screamed. Kai hammered the picks into the glowing bolt. The sunlamp groaned. It broke free from the concrete ceiling, trailing sparks and broken wires. It fell like a meteor. The archive of rust was illuminated in blinding white light. The Queen looked up, but she was too heavy to take off quickly. The sunlamp smashed into the clinic. An explosion of heat and metal dust sent a shockwave across the entire desert. Boss defeated, Iron Vulture Queen. EXP, plus 500. Level up, 5, my HP restored to 50/200. Strength, 10. Sanity, 75%. Destiny fragments obtained, plus 50.0. I finally felt powerful. Kai slid down the rack, trembling. We did it. We actually did it. He looked at the wreckage. I was already walking toward the fire. Looting is the heart of every strategy one make. Loot, Jet Engine Core X1, Steel Feather Shards X10, Queen's Eye X1. The Queen's Eye was an epic item. It allowed me to see through walls without using any sanity. Simply amazing. Item, Queen's Eye, passive. Effect, Wall Hack active. I looked at the ground. I saw the hidden corridors and the black voids of the elevators beneath the metallic sand layers. The fragments were burning in my pocket. I opened the system. Unlock, Sleepless Architect Tier 1. Benefit, ability to dismantle mechanical corpses for 2x resources obtained. I dismantled the Queen. Resources, 200 metal shards, 5 high-grade gears. I could now build a base on the 3rd floor. We needed a safe zone from the whispering whisper pipes. Kai watched me work. He was terrified of my efficiency. You're not human anymore, are you? I didn't answer. Human emotions are a luxury I simply couldn't afford on floor 2. We reached the stairs to the 3rd floor. They were made of glass and bone. A sign read, Rule 3, your shadow moves first. I saw my shadow taking a single step early. Sanity, 70%. The tower was getting harder. My fragments were at 2.0. My mace was strong, but I needed a ranged weapon. I looked at the steel feathers in my cluttered inventory. Craft, Steel Feather Crossbow. Cost, 50 fragments, 10 shards. Damage, 25. Range, 50 m. Now I could hunt without getting close to those serrated blades. Efficient and tactical. Kai looked at the crossbow. Can I have my junk club back? I gave it to him. He was a better meat shield than a fighter. We stepped onto the glass stairs together in the dark. The gravity shifted again. My stomach churned. I saw a vision of floor 3. It was a hospital. Infinite corridors filled with the smell of antiseptic and old, dried human blood. Stay close to the walls, I whispered. And don't look at the mirrors. My queen's eye showed me things moving behind the glass. They were waiting for us to blink just once. Sanity, 65%. The foresight was showing me 3 different ways Kai could die in the next minute. I grabbed his collar and pulled him left. A rusted spear shot from the wall. Kai gasped. How did you know? I pointed at my violet eyes. I'm always 10 seconds ahead. Don't forget that. We moved deeper into the silent hospital without time together. We found a supply closet. Loot, medical kit X3, ethanol X1, scalpel X2. I used the kit. HP, 150/200. I was finally healthy. I needed more. I saw a vision of a group of survivors ahead. They were barricaded in a pharmacy. Strength, 15 each. They looked hungry. Potential resources, I muttered to a confused Kai. We don't have enough food for them, Kai argued. I looked at him. We're not giving them food. They're going to hunt for us. It's time to build a real system, Kai. Trust me. We approached the pharmacy. I saw their future. In 5 minutes, they will try to rob us. I loaded my crossbow. I needed to show them the price of defying a sleepless person. Put the weapons down, a tall man shouted. He had a rusty pipe. I saw him lunging in 4 seconds. I fired a bolt into the wall an inch from his head. The man froze instantly. I know your next move before you do, I said. Join me, and you'll eat. Resist me, and you'll be dismantled for scrap metal. The man dropped his pipe. Fear is a great tool. Group obtained, 3 survivors. Role, scavengers. I assigned them to clear the nearby rooms. My pharmacy base was starting to take shape. Strategy is always about expansion. Sanity, 60%. I needed to find more essence of peace. The whispers in the pipes were getting louder. Don't blink, they hissed. I haven't blinked in over 6 hours now. I looked at my fragments. 5.0, almost enough for Tier 2. The tower hummed with a mechanical malice. I was a virus in the system, and the system was finally noticing me. Kai was sleeping in the corner. I watched him. My vision showed me his dreams. They were full of mirrors and shadows. Even his sleep wasn't safe from the horrors of floor 3. I stood at the pharmacy window, looking at the shifting hospital corridors. The hunt on floor 2 was over. The game on floor 3 was just beginning. No rest ever for us. The pharmacy smelled of old alcohol and rotting bandages. I checked my HUD. Sanity, 60%. HP, 150/200. I haven't closed my eyes in 8 hours, and the world is starting to fray at the edges. My 3 new recruits were huddled in the corner. Ben, Sarah, and Miller. They looked at my violet eyes with a mix of awe and pure dread. They knew a sleepless person meant safety and a curse. Listen up, I rasped, loading a steel feather into my crossbow. This floor has one rule. Your shadow moves 3 seconds before you do. If it grabs a scalpel, you're dead. Watch the walls. Miller, the youngest, looked at his own shadow on the white tile. It was already standing up while he was still sitting. He screamed and scrambled back, almost hitting a jagged glass cabinet. I grabbed his collar. Don't move. If you panic, your shadow will manifest. Stay in the center of the room where the light is even. I saw his shadow's future. It was trying to choke him out. Cost, 2 sanity to suppress Miller's shadow. I projected my foresight onto the floor. The violet lines of my Chronos Eyes pinned the shadow down. It hissed, a sound like steam escaping a pipe. Kai, status, I barked. The thief was perched on a shelf, his shadow mimicking a leap he hadn't made yet. Corridors are shifting, boss. The lab is 200 meters north. Antiseptic is thick. We needed essence of peace. My sanity was dropping 1% every 15 minutes now. The hospital without time was an engine designed to grind our minds into dust. We had to move or lose our souls. Ben, you're the shield. Take this metal door. I handed the tall man a heavy slab of steel we ripped from a locker. Sarah, watch our backs. Miller, if you see a shadow move early, shout. Inventory, steel feather crossbow, core-powered mace, 3x med kits, 5.0 destiny fragments. Each fragment was a drop of liquid gold. I needed 10 to unlock tier 2 of the architect tree today. We stepped into the corridor. The floor was tilted 10 degrees. Gravity here was a suggestion, not a law. The walls were lined with mirrors. I saw my reflection staring back with a grin. My reflection didn't have violet eyes. It had voids. Queen's Eye passive activated. I saw through the silver backing. 3 mirror men, level 12, were waiting behind the glass for us to pass. Stop, I whispered. I saw the future. In 6 seconds, the mirrors will shatter. The glass shards will act like guided missiles. Shields up. Miller, get under the gurney. Now, do it. I fired my crossbow at the ceiling. The steel feather hit a fire suppressant pipe. Tactical move, create a water screen. The mirrors exploded. Shards hit the water and lost their deadly momentum. Destiny fragment obtained, plus 1.2. The mirror men stepped through the frames. They were tall, skinless things made of muscle and reflective glass. They moved with a jerky, stop-motion rhythm. Their shadows were already behind us, reaching for Miller's ankles. Kai, the flash bang. I didn't wait for him to move. I saw the future where the light blinds the mirror men for 4 seconds. The light flared. The mirror men shrieked, their glass skin cracking. I charged with the core-powered mace. Every hit felt like smashing a windshield. Glass flew, cutting my exposed forearms. Damage, minus 10 HP. Kill, Mirrorman X1. I didn't stop. I saw the second one's shadow trying to trip Ben. I threw a scalpel at the shadow's head. In this floor, shadows are the real hitboxes. The scalpel pinned the shadow to the wall. The Mirrorman froze, then shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. Ben slammed his steel door into the third one, pinning it against the shifting wall. Finish it. I ordered Miller. The boy was shaking, but he drove his junk club into the monster's core. Kill, Mirrorman X1. EXP, plus 200. Miller leveled up. Strength, 7, he looked alive. Loot, Reflective Shards X15, Glass Essence X2. Glass Essence was a rare crafting material. I could use it to reinforce our base's windows. Efficiency is everything in a world of glass and bone. We reached the lab door. It was sealed with a biological lock. It needed blood. Sarah, you're a medic. How much can we spare? I asked, looking at my HUD. HP, 140/200. I was still okay. We can't spare any, boss, she whispered, pointing at the pipes. The shadows here drink blood. If we bleed, the whole floor will wake up. I looked through the Queen's Eye. She was right. The corridors were filled with nurses, mechanical spiders with human faces. Thousands of them. If they smelled blood, we'd be dismantled in seconds. I needed a non-organic blood substitute. Strategy, use ethanol and glass essence. I mixed the liquids in a beaker Kai scavenged. The mixture turned a deep, pulsating red. It looked like blood, but it was a chemical decoy for the lock. I poured the liquid into the lock. The biological eye on the door blinked, confused by the taste. It groaned and slid open. Success, lab unlocked. Destiny fragment obtained, plus 2.0. Total, 8.2. The lab was a forest of glass tubes. Inside were blue flowers growing in jars of brain fluid. Essence of peace, Sarah gasped. The real stuff. Not the diluted junk from the vulture's nests. We started harvesting. Inventory, 20x essence of peace. This was enough to keep us sane for 3 days. But the flowers were connected to a central alarm. I saw the future turn deep red. 30 seconds until the head nurse arrives, I warned. My Chronos eyes were burning. Sanity, 55%. The foresight showed a creature 5 meters tall, made of needles and rusted iron surgical saws. Kai, Ben, load the crates. Miller, Sarah, grab the ethanol. We're burning this place on the way out. I loaded an explosive bolt. If we can't hide, we create a wall of fire to mask our scent. The head nurse level 20 entered the corridor. Her saws were spinning at 10,000 RPM. The sound was a mechanical scream. Boss strength, 150. Jace strength, 10. The gap was terrifying. Fire. I shouted. Miller smashed the ethanol jugs. I fired the bolt into the pool of liquid. A wall of blue fire erupted, separating us from the saws. The heat was intense, singeing my hair. The head nurse didn't stop. She walked through the fire. Her metal body glowed red-hot, but she didn't feel pain. I saw the future. She would leap over the crates and cut Sarah in 2 pieces. Cost, 5 sanity to manifest a shadow wall. I forced my own shadow to detach and become solid. It held the head nurse's blade for a split second. That was all the time Sarah needed to move. Run to the stairs. I yelled, firing bolts into the monster's joints. The queen's eye showed me her gears. 1 bolt jammed a piston. The saw slowed down, sparks flying into my violet eyes. Destiny fragment obtained, plus 1.5. Total, 9.7. I was so close to tier 2. We scrambled through the shifts. The hospital corridors were bending like paper. The gravity shifted 90 degrees. We were suddenly running on the walls. Kai lost his grip and fell toward a mirror ceiling. I grabbed his hand, my muscles screaming. Strength 10 wasn't enough. I needed an emergency boost. Spend 5 fragments to temporarily buff strength to 25. My arm felt like it was going to explode with raw power. I swung Kai up and onto the gurney Ben was holding. We didn't stop for breath. Fragments, 4.7. I sacrificed the progression to save the pawn. A tactical loss for a strategic gain. We reached the glass stairs to floor 4. The head nurse was right behind our heels. Kai, lock the door. I threw him the master picks. The thief worked with blurred fingers while I covered him with the crossbow. The nurse's saws were grinding through the metal frame now. The door clicked shut. Success, level 3 stairs reached. The head nurse hammered on the glass, but she couldn't pass the barrier. I collapsed against the cold, shifting bone wall. I am tired. Sanity, 45%. HP, 130/200. I pulled out an essence of peace and drank it. The world stopped spinning. Sanity restored, plus 20%. Total, 65%. I can survive another few hours in this dark place. We lost the fragments, Miller muttered, looking at his feet. I looked at him with my unblinking eyes. We kept the medic and the thief. In a strategy, units are worth more than currency. Miller nodded, impressed by the cold logic. Ben was already counting the essence jars. We were the richest group on the floor now. We had enough peace to buy ourselves a small kingdom. We need a name for the group, Sarah said, cleaning the cuts on my arms. Something the others will fear. I looked at the purple lines in my palm. The unblinking, I said. It felt right. System, group, the unblinking, formed. Subordinates, 4, base, pharmacy, floor 3. I felt the system reward me for the expansion. Destiny fragments, plus 10.0. I finally hit the threshold. Unlock, Sleepless Architect Tier 2. Benefit, you can now build static traps using fragments. Now my base wasn't just a room, it was a fortress. The tower began to feel less like a prison. We reached the landing of floor 4. The air here was wet and smelled of ancient ink. A sign hung from a vine, Rule 4, silence is the only truth. The walls were made of old books. Kai looked at the stairs. A library? I looked through the queen's eye. The books weren't made of paper. They were made of dried skin. And they were all listening to our every single word. Don't speak, I mouthed to the group. I saw the future. One loud word would trigger a sonic trap that would liquefy our internal organs. I pointed to the silent, dusty ink corridor ahead. The shadows on floor 4 didn't move early. They didn't move at all. They sat on the floor like black puddles, waiting for a sound to ripples across their surface. I felt a cold dread in my gut. I checked the survivors' stats. Ben was level 6. Sarah was level 5. Miller was level 7. Kai was level 8. They were growing fast under my lead. A system of soldiers was being born in me. I opened the crafting menu. Craft, ink-dampened boots X5. Cost, 5 fragments, 10 leather. We needed to move silently. I handed the boots to the group. We changed our shoes in the total dark. Fragments, 5.0. Sanity, 62%. The foresight showed a creature called the Librarian, level 25 patrolling the center of the hall. He had 4 ears and no mouth. He was the king of silence. I checked my core-powered mace. I needed to muffle the metal with bandages. Strategy, every sound must be deliberate. If we drop a bolt, we die. I saw Miller trip in a future vision. I grabbed Miller's shoulder before he could lose his balance. I pointed at the loose floor skin. The boy nodded, sweat dripping down his face. He didn't make a sound. Good boy. He's learning. We found a section labeled Biographies. I saw a book with my name on it. Jace, the Sleepless King. My hand trembled. The book was already written up to the 50th floor. It's terrifying. I didn't open it. Rule 4, knowledge has a price. I saw a vision of Miller opening a book and being sucked into the ink. I slapped his hand away. The boy recoiled, but he understood the risk. We moved toward the sanity font. It was a fountain of ink that restored mind points at the cost of your memories. A trade, I whispered to myself. Everything in this tower is a trade. I dipped my finger in the ink. Sanity, 100%. Memory lost, your mother's face. I felt a hole in my heart, but my mind was sharp as a razor. I was a king without a past now. It was better. Kai, Sarah, use the font, I signaled. They looked hesitant. I pointed at my eyes. I am the example. They dipped their fingers. Their eyes cleared, but their faces grew cold and distant. We were becoming a group of beings of the tower. Human emotions were fading, replaced by the cold calculus of survival. Group stats, average sanity 95%. We were ready for the librarian. The creature was 10 meters tall, its body made of stacked encyclopedias. It moved like a cloud of dust. I saw the future. If we stayed still, it would pass us in exactly 45 seconds. We held our breath. I saw Ben's shadow trying to sneeze. I covered his nose with my hand. The librarian drifted past, the wind from its movement smelling of old parchment and death ink. Destiny fragment obtained, plus 5.0. Total, 10.0. I had survived the first hour of floor 4. My system was stable. My subordinates were loyal. But my mother's face was gone. A price paid in ink. I looked up at the ceiling. Floor 5 was calling. The tower was a long game of chess, and I was finally starting to play with my own rules. I loaded a steel feather. The hunt continues. Sanity, 98%. HP, 150/200. Strength, 10. Fragments, 10.0. I am the sleepless architect. And I will dismantle this vertical hell, floor by floor, until I see the sky again. No matter what. We reached a door labeled, the Archive of Shames. I saw Miller's future again. He was going to betray Kai for a map. I looked at the boy and gripped my mace. Strategy requires pruning. I didn't kill him yet. He was still a useful unit for the next floor. But I saw the seed of greed in his eyes. In a strategy, you don't wait for a revolt. You prepare the trap in advance. Kai, watch Miller, I mouthed. The thief narrowed his eyes and nodded. He saw it too. We were a team of monsters now, and monsters know their own kind. We stepped into the ink archive. The shadows here began to whisper my name. Jace, the king of scraps, the sleepless fool. I ignored them. I was 10 seconds ahead of their lies. I saw the exit. It was made of bone. Part 3 Summary, 1 subordinate turned into 4. Base established. Tier 2 unlocked. Sanity restored. High-level boss avoided. The expansion was complete. Now, it was time for real conquest. I saw the librarian turning back. He had heard my heartbeat. New task, kill the librarian. I didn't run. I looked at my fragments and my team. We have enough power to silence the silence. Sarah, the ethanol. Ben, the steel door. Kai, the bolt. Miller, be the bait. I didn't feel bad for the boy. Units are meant to be used. I loaded the crossbow. The hunt was finally on. The librarian drifted through the stacks like a ghost of old ink. His encyclopedia body shifted with a dry, papery rustle. Boss, level 25. Strength, 180. HP, 1200. He was far too strong. I checked my resources. Sanity, 98%. Fragments, 10.0. Mace, plus 15. Crossbow, plus 25. I signaled Miller to move toward the central lectern. He was the worm on my strategic hook today. Miller's hands shook as he touched a forbidden tome. The librarian's ears snapped toward the sound. I saw the future, the beast would lunge in 4 seconds. I loaded the steel bolt now. 3 seconds. I gestured to Ben. The big man braced the steel door against a shelf. Sarah prepared the ethanol jars. We were turning this archive into a tactical furnace for the boss. The librarian lunged, a cloud of razor-sharp pages. Miller dove under the lectern, barely avoiding a decapitation. I fired the crossbow. The steel bolt hissed through the dusty silence. Damage, 25. The librarian didn't feel pain, but the bolt carried a core-powered charge. It jammed his internal gears. Sarah smashed the ethanol. A wall of blue fire erupted instantly. The boss screeched, a sound of tearing parchment. The fire consumed his outer layers of skin books. Ben slammed the steel door into the beast's legs, pinning it against the hot flames. I saw a vision: the librarian would release a sonic blast in 2 seconds. I grabbed Sarah and Kai, shoving them into an ink pit. "Muffle your ears!" I shouted in the silence of my mind. The air vibrated with a soundless pressure. The glass shelves exploded into dust. Miller, who was too slow, coughed up blood. Miller HP, 20 out of 100. A tactical error, but he was still alive. I charged with my core-powered mace. Every strike tore away a volume of the beast's flesh. Damage, 40. Damage, 45. The librarian's HP bar was dropping fast under our combined assault. He tried to absorb the nearby books to heal. I saw the future and fired a bolt into the shelf he was reaching for. The books burned. Strategy: deny resources. The boss was now trapped. Final blow. I drove the mace into his four-eared head. The librarian collapsed into a pile of charred ash and black ink. Boss defeated. EXP, plus 1000. I felt the rush of level-up power. Jace, level 10. Strength, 15. Sanity, 92%. I checked the loot. Librarian's Heart X1. Ink Essence X10. Ancient Map X1. The heart was a Tier 2 core for building a permanent base. "We take this scriptorium," I declared. The room was at the center of floor 4. It had thick walls of compressed skin paper. It was the perfect place to build a fortress in this silence. Need: a safe zone from the whispering pipes. Idea: build a sonic sink. Resources: Librarian's Heart, 5.0 fragments. I opened the Sleepless Architect menu and selected the construction. The heart began to beat, absorbing the noise of the room. A field of absolute silence expanded. Base: the Sleepless Library established. Benefit: plus 5% sanity recovery per hour spent. Kai, Ben, clear the perimeter, I ordered. Sarah, tend to Miller. He's useless if he dies now. The group moved with practiced efficiency. We were no longer survivors, we were a crew. I spent 2.0 fragments to build ink-dampened floors. Now, even if someone dropped a mace, it wouldn't make a sound. Security, level 1. We finally had a place to think and plan ahead. Economics of silence. I realized the books here contained secrets of other survivors. I could harvest this forbidden knowledge and sell it on the tower's trading market for currency. Harvesting. Sanity cost, 2% per book. I found a manual on mechanical anatomy. Sold it for 3.0 fragments. Profit, 3.0. This was a gold mine if I managed my mind points carefully. Sanity, 90%. I checked my team. Ben was level 8. Kai was level 10. Sarah was level 7. Miller was still level 7 and nursing a grudge. I saw him eyeing the librarian's heart with greed. I signaled Kai to watch him. Miller thinks he's a player, Kai mouthed. I nodded. A pawn who thinks he's a king is a liability. I needed to prune the group before we reached floor 5. We found 2 more survivors hiding in a hollow book stack. They were the ink-stained people whose skin had turned black from the ink. They were mute but level 15 scavengers. Units. I offered them Essence of Peace. Negotiation, successful. Subordinates, plus 2. Total, 6, I named them Mute 1 and Mute 2. They were experts in moving through the shifting corridors. Expansion, we needed to claim the nearby Archive of Shames. It had high-grade metal for crossbow bolts. I sent Mute 1 and Kai to scout. Cost, 1.0 fragments for a scout drone eye. Through the drone eye, I saw a pack of bookworms. Ben, Build a barricade at the north exit, I commanded. I spent 3.0 fragments on static ink traps. Any worm that stepped on them would be paralyzed and ready for a tactical harvest. Resources, 5.0 fragments remaining. I was low on currency again. Strategy, growth requires risk. I decided to hunt the bookworms to fund the next tier of base fortifications now. We moved as a silent unit. Mute 1 pointed at the floor seams. He saw the worm's vibrations. I fired the crossbow. Kill, bookworm X1. Loot, worm leather X5. Good for armor upgrades. The worms were fast, but they were mindless. I used Chronos Eyes to predict their burrowing paths. I led my team into a circle. Wait for the shift, I whispered in Kai's twitching ear. The gravity tilted. The worms slid toward our traps. Success, 10 worms paralyzed. Profit, 5.0 fragments from loot. We were farming the floor like it was our personal garden today. Sanity, 85%. The foresight was heavy. I used the ink font to restore my mind. Memory lost, your first pet's name. The price was small. I didn't need memories, I needed cold data. Back at the base, Ben had finished the barricades. Sarah was distilling ink wine. Effect, plus 10% strength, minus 5% sanity. A strategic combat drug for our upcoming push to the next floor. I called a meeting. Floor 5 is a garden of flesh. Silence won't save us there. We need armor. I looked at the worm leather. We began crafting sleepless vests for the entire group. Development, Group Armor Tier 1. Benefit, plus 10 HP, plus 5 defense. My team looked like a real army now. The mutes were training Miller. The boy was getting better, but his heart was dark. I saw a vision of Miller stealing my ancient map tonight. He wanted to find a secret exit. I decided to let it happen. A controlled betrayal is a perfect way to test my new ink traps. Night fell in the library. The sun lamps dimmed to a violet glow. I sat in my architect's chair, watching the shadows. I saw Miller crawling toward the map. Kai was ready in the stacks. Miller reached the map. His shadow moved early, grabbing the parchment. Suddenly, an ink trap triggered. The floor turned into a whirlpool of black sludge, pinning the boy to the wood. Jace. I was just checking the route. Miller hissed in the silence. I walked over, my violet eyes glowing in the dark. I didn't say a word. I just looked at his stats, loyalty, 0%. In a strategy, a broken unit must be dismantled, I said calmly. I turned to Ben. Throw him into the whispering pipes. Miller's eyes went wide. He knew what happened to those people. The pipes began to scream as Ben dragged him away. Subordinate lost, Miller. Resources gained, Miller's medkit and mace. I felt no regret. I had refined my system of survival. Kai looked at me. You planned that. I nodded. A base is only as strong as its weakest point, Kai. Now, we are solid. My sanity was at 90% again. The base recovery was working well. I checked our inventory. Food, 7 days. Water, 4 days. Fragments, 15.0. I spent 10 on Tier 2 fortifications. The scriptorium now had sonic sinks that could kill weak scavengers. The tower sent a message. Announcement, the first floor war begins in 24 hours. Different factions on floor 4 were fighting for territory. My sleepless library was a prime target. Strategy, use the environment. I knew the Archive of Shames had a gravity reverse switch. If I could control it, I could drop an entire army into the ceiling during the siege here. Mutes, Find the switch, I ordered. Sarah, make more wine. Ben, Kai, we need to recruit more ink-stained. We need an army of 20 to hold this room against the other groups. We scouted the sunken wing. I found a group of 10 mutes fighting off mirrormen. Tactics, third-party intervention. We waited for both sides to weaken before we struck the blow. Foresight, mirrorman will shatter in 3 seconds. I fired. The bolt hit the core. The mirrormen died. I offered the mutes a deal, protection and peace for your blades. They agreed. Subordinates, plus 10. Total, 15. My army was growing. I spent 5.0 fragments on unified HUDs. Now I could see the health and sanity of my entire team at a glance. Tactical control. Ben built mobile barricades. Sarah created ink bombs. Damage, 50, area, 5M. We were ready for the war. I felt like a general in a war of books and blood. The tower was mine now. Sanity, 88%. The whispers were louder. You are becoming the librarian, they laughed. I ignored them. I am Jace. I am the architect. And I will build my way to the top of this hell. The first enemy group arrived. Group, the paper cutters. Size, 30. Leader, level 20. They were fast and carried blades made of sharpened skin. They didn't know about our traps. Wait for the signal, I mouthed. Through the HUD, I saw their positions. They were entering the scriptorium corridor. I saw the future, their leader will trip on an ink trap now. The leader fell. Fire. I signaled. 10 mutes fired steel bolts from the stacks. Kills, 5, the paper cutters panicked. They couldn't find us in the absolute silence of the sink. Kai used smoke essences to blind them further. Ben charged with a heavy shield, crushing their front line. I focused on the leader. Chronos Eyes, he will dodge left. I fired right. The bolt hit his throat. Leader defeated. EXP, plus 1,500. The rest of the group fled into the whispering pipes. Territory secured. Loot, 30x sharpened blades, 20.0 fragments. Profit. Fragments, 35.0. I was rich. I spent 20 on Tier 3 progression, Combat Architect. Now I could build automatic crossbow turrets. My base was becoming an impenetrable death trap. I looked at the ancient map. It showed a secret path to floor 5. The vein of knowledge. It was a vertical pipe filled with ink. If we jumped, we'd skip the floor 4 boss entirely. Risk, 20% survival rate. Reward, skip level 30 Guardian. Strategy, a 20% chance is a guarantee if you can see the future. I called my team to the central ink pit in the room. We leave the base, I told them. Kai looked shocked. We built all this. I shook my head. A base is a tool for growth, Kai. Not a home. We skip the boss and take the lead now. Compromise, abandoning the scriptorium. We took all the loot and essence. The library would stay as a monument to our climb. I saw the future of the jump. It was a dark, inkfall. Sanity, 80%. I used 10% to lock our trajectory in the foresight. Jump on my count. I commanded. We dived into the black whirlpool. The sensation was like falling through a book. Floor 4 skipped. EXP bonus, plus 2,000. I felt my muscles densify. Jace, level 15. Strength, 20. HP, 300/300. We hit the bottom of the vein of knowledge. It was warm and organic. The air smelled of iron and flowers. Floor 5, the garden of flesh. The walls were made of muscle, and the flowers had teeth. Silence is over, I said, loading a new ink bomb bolt. I checked my team. Mute 2 was missing. Subordinate lost, 1, the price of the skip was paid. Kai looked around, terrified. The ground, it's breathing, boss. It really was. Economy, 15.0 fragments, 20 essence, 5 medkits. We were well supplied, but the garden was aggressive. A Venus flytrap, level 18 lunged at Sarah. I saw it coming 10 seconds ago. I fired. The bolt blew the flower's head off. Kill, 1, loot, flesh fiber. I realized we could build armor from the garden itself. Tier 3 architect skills were perfect for this. Ben, build a flesh forge, I ordered. We needed to process the garden's meat into gear. My system was evolving from mechanical to biological. Strategy adapts to the environment. I saw a group of survivors being eaten by a tree of tongues. Decision, rescue and recruit. I needed more labor for the forge. Unblinking, move in. I signaled to the entire unit. We fought through the thorns. My mace was covered in green blood. Sanity, 75%. The foresight showed a spore cloud in 1 minute. Masks on. I ordered. We were a machine of war. We saved 3 people. Subordinates, +3. Total, 17. My army was recovering its numbers. I felt the tower's eyes on me again. I was the first to reach floor 5 in record time today. I opened the world chat. Jace leads the rankings. The others were still stuck in the library war. Strategy won over brute force once again. I looked at the flesh forged red heat. Build the nerve center first, I told Ben. I wanted a base that could feel the enemies coming through the floor muscles. A biological radar for a sleepless architect. Efficient. Construction, nerve center. Cost, 10.0 fragments. The floor around the pharmacy base began to pulse with my own heartbeat. Territory, 50 m. Benefit, plus 20% foresight range. Sanity, 70%. The whispers were now screams of joy. Grow, Jace. Become the garden. I ignored the madness. I am the king of scraps and flesh. And I will not stop until the top. I looked at the horizon of floor 5. A massive heart was beating in the distance. The guardian of floor 5, the Great Gourd. Strength, 300. I needed a bigger army and better gear. Kai, scout the nerve veins, I barked. Sarah, distill the flesh juice. We need more wine. I sat on my throne of bone and meat. The strategy for the garden was already forming. Step 1, harvest the thorns. Step 2, build a thorn launcher. Step 3, poison the Great Gourd. I saw the win in 48 hours. The calculation was perfect and cold now. Inventory, 5.0 fragments remaining. I needed more growth. I sent the mutes to hunt blood bugs. Every bug was a point of energy. My system was hungry, and I was the one feeding it. Kai returned with news. There's a lake of acid north, boss. I smiled. Tactics, acid-coated bolts. We were going to dissolve the Guardian before we even saw his giant red face. Sanity, 68%. Foresight showed Sarah would discover a new medicine tonight. Profit, plus 10% healing efficiency. I felt the progression hit a sweet spot. From 10 to 1,000 fragments. I am Jace. I am the architect of the necropolis. And today, I claim the Garden of Flesh as my personal farm. The climb to floor 100 is just a matter of numbers and cold time now. I looked at my hand. It was stained with ink and blood. I couldn't remember my mother's name, but I remembered the trajectory of a steel bolt. That was the only truth I needed. Unblinking, prepare for the harvest. My voice echoed through the muscles of the floor. The garden trembled. They didn't know a sleepless king had arrived to dismantle their soul. Sanity, 65%. HP, 300/300. Fragments, 25.0. The economy was booming. The tactics were flawless. The development was unstoppable. I sat in the dark and watched the future burn. I saw a vision of floor 10. It was a desert of glass. "I'll be ready," I whispered. My eyelids remained open, staring at the infinite climb. Strategy never sleeps, and neither do I. The great gourd's pulse shook the floor 5 muscles. I felt the vibration through my nerve center. Threat, 300. It was a mountain of meat and teeth, waiting to consume us all right now. Sanity, 65%. My foresight showed the floor veins would constrict in exactly 2 hours. Ben, brace the forge. Sarah, more poison. I ordered. The strategy for the harvest was live. Fragments, 25.0. I spent 10 on acid-resistant coating for our equipment. We needed to harvest the lake north. Kai, take the mutes. We need 5 barrels of green death for the bolts. Kai looked at the lake. It was a pool of digestive fluid. Cost, 2 destiny fragments for a safety bridge. He moved fast, his shadow scouting the surface for any hidden flesh lurkers. Sanity, 64%. The itching behind my eyes was constant. I drank an essence of peace. Restore, plus 10%. Total, 74%. Foresight showed a swarm of blood bugs approaching our base in 5 minutes. Turrets, active. I signaled. Cost, 5.0 fragments to load ink acid rounds. 2 automatic crossbows rose from the floor muscles. They tracked the buzzing swarm with cold precision. The bugs were level 15. The turrets fired, melting their wings before they could bite our nerve center. Kills, 30. Loot, blood essence x 30. Sarah grabbed the jars to make stimulants. Fragments, 10.0 remaining. Economy was tight. Strategy, I sent 3 scavengers to clear the thorn breaks. We needed the fibers to build the Great Ballista for the Guardian. The gourd was waking up. It released a pheromone cloud. Effect, madness. I saw Ben starting to hallucinate. Sarah, the ethanol masks. I shouted, shoving a filter over my mouth. Cost, 3.0 fragments. We built a pheromone filter into the nerve center's ventilation. Ben's eyes cleared. That was close, boss. I thought the walls were turning into my old house. Fragments, 7.0. We finished the ballista. Damage, 150. It was a machine made of bone and tensioned flesh fibers. We coated the bolts in the acid Kai brought back from the North Lake. Foresight check. In 30 minutes, the gourd will send its pulp servants, humanoid masses of muscle. Level 22. Threat, high. Mutes, take the high veins. Snipers only, I mouthed. Sanity, 70%. The whispers laughed. You're just a parasite in a larger stomach, Jace. I ignored them. I am the architect. I used 2.0 fragments to build sticky pit traps in the hull. The pulp servants arrived. They moved like liquid meat. They hit the traps and slowed down. Fire. I signaled. The mutes rained acid bolts from the ceiling muscles. Kills, 10. Loot, meat tier 2x10. We fed the meat to the war organ. Benefit, base HP plus 500. My territory was expanding. We were now 100 meters wide. I could feel the gourd's heart beating. Sanity, 68%. I saw a vision of the gourd's main eye opening. It would incinerate the base with a thermal beam. Ben, build the reflective shield using the Mirror Man glass shards. Cost, 5.0 fragments. We spent our last reserves. The shield was a massive wall of silver glass. We positioned it just as the gourd's eye opened 500 meters away in the dark garden. A beam of red heat hit the shield. The light reflected back into the garden, burning a path through the teeth flowers. Damage to boss, 50. The gourd roared, shaking the entire floor. Fragments, 0.0. We were out of cash. Strategy, I needed a high-value harvest. I saw a nerve node near the gourd. If we destroyed it, we'd get 50 fragments and stun the boss. Kai, Sarah, with me. The rest, hold the base, I commanded. We used the jet engine core from floor 2 to power a small flesh sled. We glided over the muscle floor at high speed. Sanity, 65%. Foresight showed a tentacle strike from the left. I steered the sled hard right. The tentacle smashed a server rack tombstone instead of us. Destiny fragment, plus 1.0. We reached the nerve node. It was a pulsing blue brain mass. Level 25. HP, 200. I attacked with the core-powered mace. Every hit sent a shock to the gourd. Damage, 50. Damage, 50. Kai used his picks to short-circuit the node's electrical output. Sarah poured ethanol into the cracks. Now, the spark, she yelled. I fired an explosive bolt into the blue mass. Node destroyed. Fragments gained, 50.0. Boss stunned, 2 minutes. The gourd's thermal eye went dark. This was our window. Back to the sled. We pushed the heart now. I screamed. Sanity, 60%. Foresight was getting blurry. I used the ink font on the sled. Memory lost, the sound of rain. I didn't care. I needed the logic. Sanity, 100%. The world was sharp. We returned to the base. Level up, 18. Strength, 25. HP, 400/400. I spent 30 fragments to upgrade the ballista to the Spinecracker. It now fired 3 acid bolts at once. Everyone, the stimulants. Sarah handed out the flesh juice. Effect, plus 20% strength. My army of 16 was ready. We moved the nerve center toward the gourd's central heart chamber. Sanity, 95%. I saw the gourd's final defense. A flesh wall, level 30. It had teeth and eyes. Strategy, I used 10 fragments to build a sonic drill using the librarian's heart. The drill resonated at a frequency that liquefied the flesh wall's cells. We drove the nerve center straight through the liquid meat. We were inside the guardian's chest cavity. It was a cavern of red steam and beating valves. The great gourd's heart was level 35. HP, 5000. Strength, 400. Our combined strength was 250. We were still outmatched by it. Phase 1, poison the valves. I ordered. Sarah and the mutes threw jars of acid poison into the pumping blood. Effect, minus 20 HP per second. The boss's HP began to tick down slowly. Phase 2, the ballista. Ben and the scavengers fired the Spinecracker into the heart's valves. Damage, 200. The gourd released white blood cells, massive level 20 antibody guards. Ben, Kai, hold the guards. I signaled. I saw the future. One guard would crush Ben's arm. I fired a bolt into its knee. Ben parried the strike with his steel door. No losses. Sanity, 90%. Foresight showed the heart was about to explode in a blood nova. Take cover inside the forge. I yelled. We dove into the reinforced stone iron structure fast. The explosion of red pressure dented the forge walls. Base HP, minus 300. We were safe. I stepped out and saw the heart's outer layer was gone. It was a raw, pulsing core of fate now. Fragments, 5.0. I spent them on, final charge, unified strike. My HUD linked everyone's muscles. On my mark, hit the central artery. I commanded. The violet lines converged. I saw the kill in 5 seconds. 4. 3. I swung the core-powered mace with every point of strength I had. The ballista fired. The mute stabbed. Kai's picks hit the neural root. Damage, 800. The great Gord's heart burst into a shower of blue fragments and golden light. The entire floor let out a long, dying moan. The garden of flesh began to wither away. Guardian defeated. EXP, plus 5,000. Level up, 25. Sanity, 80%. HP, 400/400. I stood in the wreckage of a god. I felt the Tier 3 architect skills unlocking in my systemic mind. Loot, Gord's Nucleus X1, Flesh Armor Blueprints, 200.0 Destiny Fragments. We were rich beyond belief. My army cheered, their violet eyes glowing with the victory of cold logic. Economy, 200.0 Fragments, 50 meat Tier 3, 20 Essence. I spent 100 on dismantling the Guardian. We gained enough materials to build a biological airship for the next floors. Sanity, 78%. The whispers were silent. They were afraid of me now. I dismantled the Great Gord. We built flesh-plated armor for everyone. Defense, plus 50. We were Iron Men. Kai, find the vein to floor 6, I ordered. The garden was turning into dry husks. We skipped the minor rooms. We push for the halfway point. Floor 50 is our target for this month. Kai pointed to a large red pipe in the ceiling. It was the carotid passage. It led straight through the middle of the necropolis. It's a one-way trip, boss. Very high speed. Strategy, high-speed ascent. I spent 50 fragments to reinforce the airship hull. We loaded the subordinates and the gear. Unblinking, board the ship. I shouted in the silence. We entered the red pipe. The sensation of speed was terrifying. The floors blurred past. Floor 6. 7, 8. I saw glimpses of different hells. Forests of glass, deserts of ink. Sanity, 70%. The foresight was showing me a blockage at floor 10. A creature called the Gatekeeper. Level, 40. Threat, impossible. I needed to think of a plan fast. Fragments, 50.0 remaining. I spent 20 on advanced scouting drones. I sent them ahead into the carotid pipe. I saw the Gatekeeper. It was a mass of chains and rusted locks. It was blocking the entire passage. We were moving too fast to stop. Strategy, the kinetic hammer. We would use the airship's speed as a weapon to smash through the chains. Ben, divert all power to the bow shield. Kai, Sarah, man the launchers. I ordered. I saw the impact in 60 seconds. The foresight was a solid violet wall of calculation. We hit the chains. Base HP, minus 1000. The sound was a metallic scream that shattered the glass windows of our ship. But the Gatekeeper's chains snapped under our kinetic force. Floor 10 reached. EXP bonus, plus 3000. We crashed into a desert of shimmering glass shards. The airship was wrecked, but we were alive. I stepped out onto the razor-sharp sand. Part 5 Summary, Big Threat defeated. Level 25 reached. 200 fragments earned. Floor 10 reached. The unblinking were the first to conquer the garden. The tower was trembling. Sanity, 65%. HP, 200/400. Fragments, 30.0. The glass desert was beautiful and deadly. I saw the future. Every grain of sand here was a recording of a dead person's voice. Don't listen to the sand, I warned my team. Kai was already covering his ears. We needed a new base. I looked at the wrecked ship. Dismantle it. We build a glass fortress. I sat on a dune made of memories. My mother's face was gone, but the throne was waiting. Strategy never sleeps, and the sleepless king was just getting started on floor 10. I loaded my feather crossbow with a glass bolt. The hunt for the gatekeeper starts tomorrow, I whispered to the singing sand. The necropolis was a game, and I was the player. Sanity, 62%. The whispers returned, faint and cold. What will you trade next, Jace? I looked at the infinite climb. Everything, I answered. The strategy was worth the soul. I stood on the shimmering glass desert of floor 10. Every single grain under my boots was a crystallized memory of a dead soul. The sand hissed with 1,000 ghostly voices in the dark now. Sanity, 62%. HP, 200/400. Fragments, 30.0. The crash had cost us half of our airship's structural integrity. I looked at the wreckage. It was time for a desperate salvage operation today. Ben, dismantle the hull. Kai, scout the dunes, I barked. We needed a base that could withstand the razor winds. Strategy, convert wreck to mirror fort. Cost, 15.0 fragments to build it. Sanity, 61%. Foresight showed a glass storm coming in 20 minutes. Every shard would be a level 25 projectile. I used 5.0 fragments to build a kinetic barrier around us for protection. Fragments, 10.0. Sarah was distilling glass dust into a new combat stimulant. Effect, plus 30% perception, minus 10% sanity. We needed to be sharper than the desert itself during the fight today. The unblinking moved with the cold precision of a clockwork machine. We're now wearing flesh-plated armor. We looked like monsters from a dark nightmare to others. Sanity, 60%. The whispers in the sand were loud. Jace, give us your voice. I ignored the memories. I used the ink font to lock my focus. Memory lost, your first teacher's name was gone. The gatekeeper level 40 was hunting us. I saw his shadow in the grid. He was a mass of chains and locks, sliding across the glass dunes. Strength, 450. Far beyond my current stats for now. Phase 1, Sonic Decoys. I ordered Kai to set up the librarian's heart in the North Dune. Tactics, distraction. The gatekeeper would follow the pulse of the stolen heartbeat in the sand. The decoy worked. The gatekeeper lunged at the dune, his chains lashing out with a sound of shattering glass. Foresight, he is vulnerable in the lock joint for 10 seconds starting from now. Sarah, the acid vials. Ben, the crossbow turrets. I signaled. 10 acid bolts hit the rusted locks. Damage, 100. The gatekeeper screeched, his chains glowing with a red, angry heat of pain. Sanity, 58%. The foresight showed a chain explosion coming. Everyone, into the fort. I yelled. We dove behind the silver glass walls just as the sand was shredded by metal and chains. Mirror fort HP, minus 500. The defense held. I fired my steel feather crossbow at the main gear. Critical hit, 150 damage. The gatekeeper's HP bar was now at 50%. He was finally bleeding oil. Fragments, 20.0 obtained from glass mobs. I spent 10 on Sleepless Architect, glass shaping. I turned the sand around the boss into a cage of jagged, transparent spikes to trap him fast. The gatekeeper was trapped. Kai finished the locks. The thief used his master picks to jam the rotation gear. I swung my core-powered mace into the central skull mask with all my power now. Boss defeated, the gatekeeper. EXP, plus 10,000. Level up, 35. My strength hit 40. HP restored to 600/600. I felt the tier 4 architect skills blooming in my violet, unblinking eyes at last. Loot, Master Keyshard X1, Chain Whip X1, 500.0 Destiny Fragments. We were officially the kings of the lower floors. The wealth was enough to buy a city on the upper levels in the future. Sanity, 70%. I checked the ancient map. It was glowing now. It didn't just show floors, it showed the core engine at floor 100. The tower is a massive soul distillation machine for them. Every death on floor 1 to 99 feeds the great architect at the top. We aren't climbing for freedom, we are climbing to be processed. I looked at the purple lines in my palm with cold fear. Boss, what's wrong? Kai asked, cleaning his blades. I looked at my team. 17 units. 17 lives. We changed the plan. We aren't just climbing. We are dismantling the tower today. New goal, tower dismantling. I spent 200 fragments to build the Sleepless Warship. It was a fortress made of flesh, ink, and glass. It could fly through the carotid pipes at high speed. Economy, 300.0 fragments, 100 essence, 50 medkits. Our resources were peak. I assigned roles. Ben, Commander. Kai, Head Scout. Sarah, Alchemist. The Mutes, Secret Assassins for the hunt. We moved to floor 50 tonight, I declared. Through the Queen's eye, I saw the higher floors. They were full of sleepless generals, people like me, but they had lost their humanity long ago. Sanity, 65%. The foresight showed a massive eye watching us from floor 100. It was the great architect. He smiled. He liked the challenge. He wanted to eat my violet eyes for himself. Let him watch, I whispered. I used 50 fragments to upgrade my Chronos Eyes. Skill, Eternity Gaze unlocked. Now I could see 30 seconds into the future. A god's level of power was mine. Sanity cost, 5 per use. The price was high, but the profit was total control. I looked at the glass desert. I saw the hidden, floor 0. A place where the first losers were kept forever. Summary of growth, from a weak servant to a level 35 king. From $200 to 300.0 fragments. From a broken compass to the eternity gaze. We had become the top strategy in the world. But my mother's name was gone. My childhood was a blank space in my mind. I was a machine of ink, meat, and calculation now. Jace the human was dead. Only the king remained in this hell now. Sanity, 62%. The whispers in the glass sand were screaming. Look up, king of scraps. The stars are falling. I looked through the queen's eye. The ceiling of the tower was cracking open. Something was coming down from floor 100. A World Eater, level 99. A tactical countermeasure from the great architect. It was a massive shadow made of thousands of violet eyes and teeth. Threat level, apocalyptic. Foresight showed our warship being crushed in 10 seconds. Everyone, battle stations. The real war for the tower begins right now. I loaded an explosive bolt. I stood on the bow of my ship, staring at the descending shadow. I didn't blink. I never do. I see you, architect. And I'm coming for your throne. The final climb has begun for us all now.